A very wise man once said, "Trying is the first step to failure." The wait is over. The most anticipated radio ever is finally here. Actually, well, mine is here. I've had mine for a few months. You won't be able to get yours for a few more weeks, but you know what I mean. And of course, I am talking about the new Midland MXT500 50-watt mobile GMRS radio. Now, the MXT500 will not be shipping until mid-January 2022, and when it does, the price will be $399. If you're interested in this radio, pre-order it now, because there's some YouTube hobo out there that keeps making videos about new GMRS radios, and every time he does that, those radios sell out overnight. So if you want to touch the new Midland MXT500 radio anytime soon, pre-order it now. Affiliate link below. Now, Midland did send me this radio so that I could show it to you, my favorite viewer, and that is exactly what I'm going to do. I will show you what the new MXT500 can do and how easy it is to use. And that's one of the biggest selling points of the MXT500 is that it is very easy to use. The MXT500 is made for normal people, not radio dorks or GMRS experts, but it is a full-featured, high-powered radio so that you can pretend to be a radio dork, and the actual radio dorks will never even know that you're a normal person while using this radio. The Midland MXT500 GMRS radio is a GMRS radio, and although the airwaves are provided to us by Xenu for free, if you want to transmit on those airwaves within these lovely United States, you're going to have to pay the FCC for a GMRS license. There is no test for a GMRS license. You buy it just like a fishing license. It's good for 10 years, and it covers your entire family. For a simple step-by-step guide of how to give your money to the FCC so that you too can use our free airwaves, click that link right there to a page on my website that will show you exactly how to do it. So what is so special? Why has this radio been the most anticipated radio ever? It's like a frickin' iPhone. Mostly because it's made by Midland, some say the most trusted name in radios. 50 watts of communications power. This is Midland's first 50-watt radio. 15 channels, repeater channels, privacy codes, blah, blah, blah. Fast USB charging. It has a USB port on it that you can plug your phone or iPad into to charge them up. Some of the other features on the box: full 50 watts of GMRS power, water-resistant IP66. That means it's basically almost submergible, nearly fully waterproof, fully dustproof, so you can mount it in your side-by-side or your Razor or your rail car, whatever you call them. It is repeater capable, and it does support split tones on repeaters, 142 privacy codes, which it receives NOAA channels and NOAA weather alerts, automatic power off function, channel scan, keyboard lock, blah, blah, blah. Silent operation mode for when you're out hunting and you don't want the radio to make any beeps or noises. Now, the one thing that everybody wanted to know about the new MXT500, all the rumors were, will it be wideband or narrowband? Most of Midland's radios in the past have been narrowband only. Pretty much all of the other GMRS radios in the world are wideband radios. That can cause problems. It's very confusing, but basically, if you're talking on a narrowband radio, which most of the previous Midland radios are, if you're talking on a narrowband radio to a wideband radio, they'll have trouble hearing you. The volume would be very low. The signal might be strong, but they wouldn't hear your voice talking very loud, and they would keep saying, "What did you say? What did you say?" And most Midland radios of the past are narrowband radios, so everybody was hoping that the new Midland MXT500 would be wideband. But as you can see, it does not say wideband on the box, contrary to many rumors that said it would say wideband on the box. Now it says wideband. The MXT500 is indeed a wideband GMRS radio. Almost forgot, The MXT500 does not have a Roger beep. So you get 50 watts, nearly fully waterproof, fully dustproof. 36 watt, the USB-C charger is 36 watts, so it can charge not only your phone, but bigger things like iPads. It is very simple to use. I think that is the key selling point of this radio. As I previously mentioned, it is not for radio dorks. It is not for GMRS experts. It's for normal people that want an easy radio to use, for people that don't want to have to learn radio theory. If you want a radio that you just take out of the box and pretty much start using. Enough talking about it. Allow me to show you what you will receive when you purchase the Midland MXT500 radio. In the box, you will receive a user manual. You can tell a lot about a radio by the quality of a user manual, and this is one of perhaps the best user manual I've ever read. It is written in perfect English, very simple to understand. It is not written for radio dorks. It is written for normal people. Everything you need to know on how to use the radio and how to get it up and running. Very well written, very simple. My only complaint is that it's very small. You will receive various mounting screws, a mount for the microphone with a sticky in case you don't want to screw it into anything. You will receive a mount for the radio to install it in your vehicle. And it does have adjustable holes so that you can mount it the way that you like to best suit your GMRS viewing needs while you're driving in your vehicle. You will receive a magnetic mount antenna with cable. Now, this is a small antenna. We'll talk a little bit more about that in a few minutes. It is a standard NMO type connector that screws right on here. Very simple. And because it is a standard NMO mount connector, you can put pretty much any antenna there if you want a bigger one. It has a standard PL259 connector that goes into the back of the radio, and I believe that is 20 feet of cable. It has a rubber pad because that is magnetic, and when you stick it to your vehicle, you don't want it grinding rocks into the paint, so there is a rubberized pad there. And it comes with a metal plate with a sticker on the back so that if you have a vehicle that is non-metallic, you can stick that to your vehicle and then stick this to that. Thusly. You will receive a microphone, push to talk, talking hole, up and down controls. It feels good. It might be weighted inside, but does have a good solid feel to it. You will receive a power cable. I can't show you the whole thing because it's hooked up to my power supply. And you will receive the Midland MXT500 mobile GMRS radio. It is not very large. From heatsink to knob, measuring from the base, about 7.5 inches by about 5.5 inches. Speaker on the top. We don't want to miss this. Volume button, hole for your microphone, menu for programming on the radio. Very easy to program. I'll show you that in a minute. Scan button to scan through all of your channels, either GMRS channels or the weather channels. Monitor button to open the squelch so you can hear weak signals. Weather button to switch to the weather channels, and a lock button to lock the radio. Channel knob with a little tactile hole. USB-C port is in here, and it has a cover there to keep the dust and water out. Antenna hole, that is a standard SO239 female of the PL259 connector for the antenna. And it has a mini XLR, I think they call that a TA5 mini XLR plug for plugging into a intercom system. And a plug for an external speaker. And this radio does get hot, as indicated by the warning sticker because the entire chassis is basically a heatsink. If you're transmitting for long periods of time, if you are a long talker, this thing will get hot, so do not be alarmed. It is a very sturdy, heavy, solid, I would say rugged radio. Now the range and the power, just like every other 50-watt GMRS mobile radio, the range is very, very good. It's no different from any other 50-watt mobile radio. Without a repeater, I'm able to talk to somebody 26 miles away, loud and clear. And that was using the stock dinky little antenna. This antenna, I've tested several of these, works very, very well, surprisingly well. But because the magnetic mount that it comes with, as I previously mentioned, is a standard NMO mount, you can put any other type of antenna on there if you'd like. A bigger, better antenna should you choose, but you really don't have to. Out of the box, it works very well. As I mentioned, I talked to my friend 26 miles away. I can also easily hit my two favorite repeaters, one that is 30 miles away and the other one that is 69 miles away. No problem, loud and clear. Now to get the full 50 watts out of this radio, you need every drop of a full 13.8 volts out of your vehicle. You probably have to have the vehicle on and running, but it still works just fine even if it doesn't have that full 13.8 volts. You just won't get your full 50 watts out of the radio. The range is still very good even if you only have 12 volts, like when I had it hooked up to my 12 volt power supply. That's when I talked to my friend 26 miles away and the repeater 70 miles away. You will need to hardwire it into power in your vehicle. You cannot use a cigarette lighter plug because most cigarette lighters can't supply enough electrical sauce. That's probably about the only unsimple thing about this radio is that you cannot plug it into a cigarette lighter. You have to hardwire it in for power. The power cables that come with it are sealed and waterproof. Power the radio on, you press and hold the power on button. The screen is customizable. You can change the color of it and the brightness. To program it, if you want to program it on the radio, you just hit menu. It's very simple, only 15 options. You set your power level, high, medium, or low. Those changes take effect immediately. You don't have to save or anything. Comes with narrowband enabled by default on some channels. To turn narrowband off, thusly putting it into wideband mode, hit the button, turn the knob. It is now on wideband. Several other options, squelch level, color of the screen, brightness of the screen, option 12, the repeater function option. Out of the box, the repeater channels are not activated, so you would need to go into option number 12 and turn the repeater option on. There's a very good reason for this. Midland made this radio simple, and many people that use this radio don't even know what a repeater is. So by default, there's no repeater options. It's very simple, even more simple to use. But for those advanced users that do want to use a repeater, we go into menu option number 12, change that to on, and now the repeater channels are enabled. By default, the programming port is turned off. USB is enabled for charging only, so that if you were to plug something in to the USB hole, it would supply power, but you wouldn't be able to program it through your computer, which I will show you momentarily. So to enable programming so that you can connect it to a computer and use the software to program it, simply turn that on. Now the USB port is enabled for programming. Now, if you're programming the radio on the panel, one thing that's not so easy is entering CTCS or DCS tones for a repeater. In the style of Midland, you need to use a lookup chart. So if your CTCS code was 79.7, you would put in the radio number 5, which corresponds to that tone. Same with the DCS tones, except they're even smaller and harder to read. But if you're using the software, there's no need for that because it actually lists the tones in the software. Allow me to demonstrate. So to use the software to program the radio, all you need is any USB-C cable. I found this one in my kitchen drawer. You enable the USB option, which I've already done, and you stick the cable in the hole. You then get your Windows computer and connect the other end into a USB hole. And when I hooked mine up for the first time, it worked no problem, no driver issues, no nothing. I plugged it in and it just worked. You open up your Midland software and you can see right away that even the software is very simple, very easy to use. It's not overrun with a bunch of mysterious settings and options. So the first thing you do is download whatever's in the radio to the computer, even though it opens up with a default program. So I'm going to download or read from the radio. You can see it actually reads very quickly, much quicker than some of my other radios. And now this is the default program for what was in the radio. You'll see each channel listed here, the transmit and receive frequency. You can set channel names in this column here. The step you probably will never need to worry about. The spacing is what indicates either wideband or narrowband. So by default, all of these lower channels are at narrowband. The 25K are wideband. You can set the transmit power per channel. You enter your CTCS or DCS, DPL tones in these two columns. And that's pretty much all that there is to program channels. If I hit function setup, I can set a custom message that will show up when the radio is first turned on. I can make it display either channels or the names of the channels. I can set the squelch level. The screen brightness, the radio can be set to automatically power off so that if you don't use it for a set amount of time, instead of draining down your battery, it will turn off. Screen color, and a few other things that you may not ever need. Now I have already set up my own custom program. So as you can see, I've set channel names for all of my channels, which will show up on the radio. I don't know why I skipped this one. To change that to wideband, just change that to 25 kilohertz. I enter my repeater tones in these two fields here. Very simple to do. You select whether you need a CTCS or DCS tone, and then you hit the drop down from here. You'll see here the number that corresponds to the code in the user manual, and then the actual tone here. Now it is limited to only 30 channels, which on most radios means that for repeaters, you cannot have multiple repeaters on the same frequency with different tones. However, because Midland has omitted channels 8 through 14, because those are low power handheld only channels, you can use those channel slots to put in whatever you want. So as you can see here, I have 3 repeaters that all use 462-700, but different tones. So you can have a few additional repeaters with multiple tones. And because this radio can receive anything between 400 and 489 megahertz, I have set a ham frequency here for receiving only. It won't let me transmit, but you can receive other frequencies and store them here. To put in a custom frequency to listen to, you just type it in here. It will not let you select any transmitting frequency other than valid GMRS frequencies. Once I make all my custom changes, I can then send that to the radio or write it to the radio. When I turn the radio on now, we will see my changes take effect. See my custom startup message, as well as now my custom channel names. MI indicates medium power. LO indicates low power. The screen is very bright. As I showed you, it is adjustable, and it's viewable at a very wide angle. And the speaker is very loud enough to hear it even in a noisy vehicle like a Jeep. So should you buy the new Midland MXT500 high-power 50-watt GMRS mobile radio? If you're a GMRS expert or radio dork, probably not. But if you're just a normal person that wants a high-powered, easy-to-use, basically nearly waterproof, very rugged, did I mention it's easy to use, with everything that you need to use it right out of the box? Then absolutely. If you have questions about the Midland MXT500 GMRS radio, you know how this works.